The Bee Tree. In the book The Sign of the Beaver by Elizabeth George Spear, Matt is on his own while his pa is on a trip to get the rest of his family. Read the passage to find out what happens when Matt tries to get honey for himself. Day after day, he kept remembering the bee tree. He and his father had discovered it weeks ago. High in a tree, the swampy edge of the pond they had called Loon Pond, the bees were buzzing in and out of an old woodpecker hole. Matt had thought that they were wild bees, but his father said no. There were no bees at all in America until the colonists brought them from England. The swarm must have escaped from one of the river towns. Bees were better left alone, Pa said. He felt he could not endure another meal of plain fish. He was hungry for a bit of something tasty. Knowing so well his fondness for molasses, his mother had persuaded him to carry a little keg all the way to Maine when his father would have rather gone without. He couldn't stop thinking about that honey. It would be worth a sting or two just to have a taste of it. There could be much danger in going up that tree and taking just a little. A cupful, perhaps, that the bees would never miss. One morning he made up his mind to try it, come what might. It was an easy tree to climb, with branches as neatly placed as the rungs of a ladder. The bees did not seem to notice as he pulled himself higher and higher. Even when his head was on a level with the hole, they flew lazily in and out, not paying him any mind. The hole was small, not big enough for his hand and the spoon he had brought with him. Peering in, he could just glimpse far inside the golden mass of honeycomb. The bark all around the hole was rotted and crumbling. Cautiously, he put his finger on the edge and gave a light tug. A good-sized piece of bark broke off into his hand. With it came the bees. With a furious buzzing, they came pouring from the broken hole. The humming grew to a roar, like a great wind. Matt felt a sharp pain on his neck, then another and another. The angry creatures swarmed along his hands and bare arms, in his hair, on his face. How he got down out of that tree he never remembered. If he could reach water, he could escape them. Hollering and waving his arms, he rushed toward the pond. The bees were all around him. He could not see through the whirling cloud of them. The swampy ground sucked at his feet. He pulled 1 foot clear out of his boot, went stumbling over sharp roots to the water's edge, and flung himself forward. Dazed with pain, he sank down into the icy shelter of the water. He came up choking. Just above the water, the angry bees circled. Twice more he ducked his head and held it down till his lungs were bursting. He tried to swim out into the pond, but his feet were tangled in the weeds. When he tried to jerk them free, a fierce pain ran up his leg and he went under again, thrashing his arms wildly. Then something lifted him. His head came up from the water and he gulped air into his aching lungs. He felt strong arms around him. Matt was too weak to struggle. He could not even lift his head. Now that he was out of the cold water, his skin seemed to be on fire from head to toe. Yet he could not stop shivering. Number 1. Read the sentence from the passage. Then answer the question below. It was an easy tree to climb, with branches as neatly placed as the rungs of a ladder. What does the author mean by saying, with branches as neatly placed as the rungs of a ladder? A. The branches were spread so far apart that it was impossible to climb. B. The branches were chopped up and neatly stacked by the tree. C. The branches were larger than any Matt had ever seen before. D. The branches were lined up closely so it was easy to climb. Number 2. What lesson did Matt learn? What events helped him learn that lesson? In your answer, make sure to explain what lesson he learned and name at least 2 events from the text to support your answer. Number 3. Which of these details best show Matt's character? A. There couldn't be much danger in going up that tree and taking just a little, a cupful perhaps, that the bees would never miss. B. Even when his head was on a level with the hole, they flew lazily in and out, not paying him any mind. C. Hollering and waving his arms, he rushed toward the pond. D. Cautiously, he put his fingers on the edge and gave a slight tug. Number 4. Read the sentence. He could not endure another meal of plain fish. Which word best defines endure in this context? A. Stand. B. Encourage. C. Find. D. Cook.